14th, 20. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, Periscope, iTunes, and YouTube. Your rating and review help us out tremendously. And of course, visit us on the sports diet, thesportscast.net for the latest and greatest when it comes to sports news. This app is brought to you by Insta Bible app. You can download the Insta Bible app on the iOS App Store. Get it today, and you can go share a verse to the world. The NBA are in talk. They had a talk with Adam Silver this past week, and they're hopeful that they can finish off the season strong in June. And joining us to talk to us a little bit about the NBA, Major League Baseball, and maybe some MLS, Ryan Christa, all the way from upstate New York.
Santiago, it's good to be here. Good to talk a little bit of sports news. Eventually, someday we'll talk about sports, but it's coming.
Well, there is Korean baseball right now going on.
I caught a little. I always catch a little bit in the mornings. I'm Santiago.
How's their style of play? Is it like similar to Major League Baseball? I mean, are they more?
It's a little different. The players aren't as probably agile or athletic, but they have. Again, I think we talked about it last time I was on. It's probably behind the Japanese league, which is the second highest league in the world. It's probably the third. So you get a lot of former major league players who rather play in Asia than go back to playing minor league baseball permanently. So you got some talent. It's better than nothing, that's for sure.
Following these leagues like the Korean League, the German Bundesliga, a lot of the major league leagues here in America are looking at them and see how it will go. Now, let's go Major League Baseball. What is the plan? I heard they will be doing something in June. I believe they're going to have like a mini tournament. What have you heard about Major League Baseball so far?
Well, they proposed an 82-game schedule that would have the players report, middle of June, and games would start in July. Under that that the owners proposed and voted on, it would reduce the player's salary, quite a bit to, basically they would go to almost a salary cap system for the league. And if Major League Baseball right now is the only, of the major sports leagues in America, the only one that does not have any type of salary cap restrictions at all. So now the players have voted on saying previously, when the pandemic started, that whatever games they play in this year, they'll get paid for.
But the players,
so if they play 82 games.
But the players have complained about that. That they don't want to go that route. They want to get paid regularly.
Well, they voted on it. I mean, they agreed to get paid in this current solution. They would get paid half their salary because they're playing half their season.
Right.
Well, now the owners have come back and said, no, we want you to take even less of a pay cut, even though you're playing half the season, because they're going to be missing the revenue from fans in the stands, concessions, and the normal game day revenue that they produce. The only revenue they will be getting is from the TV contract. So they wanted to take a little bit more of a pay cut to the players, and they voted. The owners voted on that unanimously this weekend. They brought it to the players union, and basically what the owners are trying to do is get a public relations battle with the players, in the sense of, how we'll try to get the players to vote on this, because public right now is going to say, you seem greedy, when the rest of the world is struggling to make ends meet, and you're getting paid millions of dollars and you're arguing, over that. So, right now it's not working because basically their standings, called it, they're not backing down from the original proposal that they accepted, which is getting paid for any games that they play, basically a prorated salary that the contract they already signed.
Here are a couple points from this agreement, because this agreement goes with Major League Baseball, the owners, and the Players Association, which is very similar to a union. But one of the things they agreed, obviously, was the 82-game regional schedule and a 30-man active roster with a 20-player taxi squad. What's a taxi squad?
So basically, they would bring the minor league team with them. They bring the highest, which basically says the minor league baseball.
Birmingham Barons will be included.
So basically, yeah. Or, what they'll do is, they'll have, let's just say, let's say the Marlins, they train in Jupiter, Florida. So basically, they'll keep their 20-man taxi squad playing, scrimmages, and practice games all the time down in Jupiter. So instead of playing in the minor leagues, they'll be playing, they'll be keeping fresh down there. So then when they need, an injury happens, they can call up anybody, right away. So that, they might bring, 5 or, on a road trip, 5 or 10 of these guys with, whatever, they might need on a daily occurrence.
And there will be 14 teams in the postseason with games played in home cities in October. There'll be a 50-50 revenue split for players and owners. This is what the postseason is looking at. Teams with the best record in each league get a wild card round bye. 2 other division winners and top wild card team host all games of 3-game series in wild card round. 2 other division winners get to pick their wild card round opponents. The 2 other wild card teams are paired up. What do you think about that postseason?
It's wild. It's different. Basically, they're saying that, a 162-game baseball season, that's a good enough sample size to tell which team, the top 5 teams in each league are. With 82 games, even though it seems like a lot of games, in the realm of baseball, that's not a lot of games. There's baseball, it's kind of any given day, but the law of averages say, if you have a great team, you're going to win a lot more than you lose. So in a 162-game season, that record is going to come to the forefront. 82 games, you might not be able to see who the best teams are. So this way, you're giving more chances to everybody to kind of evaluate, who's the winner of the league.
Major League Baseball and the NFL, correct me if I'm wrong, are the only 2 leagues that uses wild card systems, right?
Actually, hockey kind of uses that. So hockey's got, two divisions in each conference, and the top 3 teams from each conference, each division makes the playoffs, and then the top 2 4th and 5th place teams, or from the rest of the conference make the playoffs to round out the 8. So they kind of have their own version of the wild card in hockey.
Interesting. I thought that like NHL was similar to what they do in the NBA. Just straight up playoffs. Everyone gets their first round matches.
They used to, but they changed up the divisions a couple of years ago. And it's a crazy format.
Players and leagues. That is the war right now. The NBA had a virtual call with between Adam Silver and the owners, also the board of governors, feeling increasingly positive about the league's momentum toward a resumption of play this season, sources told ESPN. Owners and executives in the call were encouraged about the league's progress toward minimizing health risk upon a return, and the league offers positive conversations with the NBA Association about the players' desire to eventually restart the season. Discussions centered on health and safety concerns, including the goal of getting team officials and players comfortable with the idea that a positive test for the coronavirus upon a return would not shutter play. So, obviously, the question is about testing. Is there enough tests for these players? A lot of the players are already training, maybe also in the team facilities. But there's also a group of people, Ryan, that they want to see the season just, fold. They just wait till like October or maybe even in December. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. I mean, we're really kind of looking. This is it's still kind of bizarre. What are we in the middle of May now? Which is kind of, if you look at a normal calendar, we're halfway through the playoffs right now. We're looking towards, the conference finals. And what we're talking about now, resuming, I'm assuming if they go, resume, it's got to be just the playoffs. I would have a hard bet that they would play any regular season games. But, I mean, they're saying the decision is 2 to 4 weeks. So let's just say it's the middle of June, and then they're going to have a training. So you're not looking to start any earlier than probably the end of June, the middle of July. I mean, how long are we going to go for? You're going to play full 7-game series, which I think I've read that they want to.
7-game series?
I mean, yeah. I mean, what are you going to look at finishing in November? I mean, really, you got to say where they're looking at. Again, I mean, they keep on bringing up 2 places, and that's Las Vegas, at the MGM, where they have the players can stay at the hotel and play at the arena, and then obviously Disney World because the resort is closed and they got all the hotels and they have their sports center there, so that kind of works out well logistically. Again, I think the players they want to play. They took the straw poll. Chris Paul, the head of the Players Association rep, basically sent a text to other players, and the majority of them said yes to playing. So the players are on board. They think obviously the main concern is just health and safety of themselves. What type of isolation plan? I don't know if you heard this yesterday. I got a wind of obviously golf is planning on starting in the middle of June, and golf is a lot different than basketball. You're not you basically have no contact with your opponent. And there's a 37-page mandate, about rules and regulations and social distancing. And now you're going to talk about what kind of rules and regulations you're going to talk about basketball when you've got a physical game, there's a lot of loopholes that's got to come through with Santiago before this happens. So
I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, Rudy Gobert came out healthy. Obviously, basketball is a physical sport. People are sweating. People are probably spitting. There's a lot of in-person, situations. So it's just, I mean, I don't know, Ryan. I mean, the games have to be played, but at the same time, I mean, not everyone can wear a mask while playing basketball.
No, you can't. So, I mean, the players got to come up with a plan for safety, testing. Again, it's like how many league officials are we going to go down to each place? Is it going to be, all your GMs and all your training staff? There's a lot of people, Santiago.
There's a lot of people. There's about how much staff and players will be there at the game? Is it like 50? Is it 20, 30? I mean,
you're probably looking at 20 to 30 personnel that travel with the team.
Per team. I mean, but they could always cut that down. Hey, water boy, no water boy. Like you're going to have to grab your own drinks.
Yeah, it's just so you got to worry about the safety of everybody in their traveling party. And then obviously the big key is, if they have enough safe, protocol, saying, okay, if something does happen, you can't overreact.
Yeah.
We'll send this player away.
What if one player gets the virus? You can't overreact. You're just going to have to, this guy cannot play for, for 2 weeks. We're just going to have to go through the storm.
I mean, basically, Santiago, Rudy Gobert shut down sports.
Pretty much. Everyone talks about that. Correct.
I remember that day quite vividly, literally that morning the NBA voted on, starting whatever that weekend that, there would be no fans in the arena. So basically, all of a sudden, 7-8 hours later, Rudy Gobert tests positive. They stopped the Thunder. Thunder and Jazz. And, hours later, the college basketball tournament was shut down. The NBA shut down for the season. NHL, every major sporting event. It's just crazy.
It was a domino effect.
But, like you said, I think right now for the next couple of weeks, all eyes are on, NASCAR, Bundesliga.
No contact sport, non-physical, golf. You don't need many people there. It's just your caddy and the golf player.
But, I think you're going to look a lot at the Bundesliga, Santiago, because that's the first major sporting, with traditional sport being played.
Which one? Which sport?
Bundesliga.
Yeah, Bundesliga this Saturday. That's correct, which is this weekend. And a lot of leagues, including the NFL, will look at what's going to happen this weekend and for the next couple of weeks.
I mean, the NFL's got some time. They got a couple months.
NFL has some time.
Kind of come up.
A lot of time.
But when you're talking about the NBA,
I think it's too soon, Ryan. I think this is too soon.
The NBA and the NHL and baseball, you're looking at something that's got to be done sooner than later. So they're looking, what happens, with that. So I think all eyes on that. I mean, we see the success of it. We did talk about the Korean League. They've had a lot of success.
What have you heard about the NHL?
Very, very quiet, Santiago.
Yeah, me too. I think I talked to one guy in my grocery store. He's the only kid that I know that follows hockey after you. And I think he told me that they had some agreement of maybe not even playing at all. I think that's what I heard, but I could be totally wrong as well.
I mean, they had a lot of meetings back in April, and it kind of looked like it was going to happen sooner than later, and then it's all of a sudden.
But they do wear helmets with face shields.
Yeah, but it's a very, again, it's not just that. It's all the contact you have with players and, your staff and just all the, not just, the time you're on the ice. It's all, it's your everyday life and everyday, contact you have with people in your organization, on team. I mean, locally here in Rochester, we have our minor league hockey team their season just went from postponed to canceled, so that's not a good sign for the NHL. It's kind of known, but again, minor league sports are gonna be the first to go as we try to at least get major league sports back on the field or ice or wherever. So, but like you said, hockey is very, very mum right now.
Yeah, hockey is very mum.
I mean, it doesn't get the publication that basketball does, but you're not hearing anything out of anywhere.
And another league, which is parallel to Major League Baseball, is Major League Soccer. They've asked the players to take a 20% salary reduction. Major League Soccer could return this summer. The league and the MLS Association must work out an agreement. Simple as that. MLS has made a proposal to the union about salary reductions due to COVID-19 pandemic. The league seeks a 20% pay cut for every player. The league, which is celebrating its 25th season of all years, also has asked for more financial reductions beyond salary cuts for the 2020 campaign. If MLSPA, the players union, agrees, that could very well run into tens of millions of dollars. MLS continues to engage in productive conversations with the MLSPA over ways in which we can collectively address challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, says MLS President Garber and Deputy Commissioner Mark Abbott. The MLSPA did not respond to ESPN for comment on a handful of weeks into the season. On March 12th, the league suspended play due to the pandemic. Okay, so MLS is a crucial part of their time because they kind of run thin with their margins. Do you think this might pass through?
I mean, I'm not quite sure how their union is, how important, playing this season again. They got to come up with a plan, Okay, you got a 20% reduction. Does that mean you're going to play? Obviously, if you play games, they're going to be in front of no fans. Does that mean you're going to be playing in one central location? Are you going to be playing in your traditional stadiums? What kind of safety and testing you're going to do? When are you going to start playing? If you take a 20% cut, you're playing, how many games you're actually going to try to make play?
I mean, they could.
I mean, there's a lot of
because
logistics that go into, not just saying 20%, what are you asking the players? If you're going to play in one side, you're going to be playing 2 or 3 games a week then to make up for the games, or are you going to just play your normal, no more than 2 games a week,
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that MLS could definitely extend their season until December, which I think the MLS Cup is typically scheduled in December, and a lot of them have soccer-centric stadiums. Of course, they're going to see what the Bundesliga does, how what protocol they're going to do differently. But MLS, I could definitely see them start in September at the latest, and shorten the season. You're not going to have the full season, and just play it out and see what happens and take that players cut. I'm not surprised. MLS survived the recession back in '08, so I'm really looking into if they'll survive this pandemic. So really curious. Any closing words or thoughts on the MLS?
Well, MLS is a very unique league in our sports system. It started off, as kind of this dreamy, league, in big cities playing in soccer, football stadiums. But quickly, it's found, these cities, Seattle, Salt Lake City,
Kansas City,
where all of a sudden, I think the soccer, this league has found, cities that really love their sport. You go to a random place in America that doesn't have an MLS team, and they could probably care 2 bits about the MLS soccer. But you go to these cities and these, where there's so much passion, and it's a very big deal, Santiago.
It is. Kansas City, Salt Lake. Yeah.
I think it might be bigger than baseball in some cities.
Correct.
And in Kansas City especially, do they love the Royals? Sure, when they're winning, but more or less not. The Royals aren't winning. If you turn on a Sporting Kansas City soccer game, you're not going to see an empty seat for years, it seems like. But you turn on a Kansas City Royals game, you see plenty of empty seats. And I just learned this, just a random, but there's definitely a lot of passion in these certain cities for their team, But you go and you turn on, I don't think I've ever seen, FC Dallas ever, have a beautiful stadium, but I've never seen that stadium filled. It's a big deal, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Talk about New England. They can't fill Foxborough for the Revolution.
Yeah, they only use half the state. That's one team that's really has I think they have a good enough passion. It does look different because they're only playing. You're playing at a football stadium, so obviously it always looks empty. But there's some passion, but not a whole lot of passion. The same as you got Red Bulls. They have this amazing stadium in New Jersey.
It doesn't fill up.
I think it's never been more than 75% filled for Red Bulls.
And they got a lot of people around that stadium too.
A lot of people,
but no interest.
But then you go and they bring in NYFC and Yankee Stadium, and I know they had some, European stars there for a while when they first started, and they were getting 50,000 seats. People as a play, So I think location is a big deal with that.
Yeah.
And go back to the beginning. MLS has grown tremendous leaps and bounds in the cities where it is, and it's definitely founding. It's a niche sport, meaning not everybody's on board. It's not like football or basketball where the majority of people follow it. In the certain cities and certain areas, it's very big. Like you said, it definitely. In this sports, like you said, during tough economic times, tend to take a back seat because people don't have a lot of money. Sponsorships don't have a lot of money for TV. So the MLS survived at one time. I think they're going to be okay. Even if they take this year off, if it just doesn't work out, I think they'll survive. because they can't just go out there and not make any money. Santiago,
They got to make some money, right, Ryan?
Yes.
They got to make some money.
You can't go out there, if that means, players, they don't play and players don't really make a salary this year. That's just the tough choice they're going to have to make if it's not worth it.
Let's go on to the NFL. The Rams revealed their new uniforms. They include metallic chrome blue helmet. Have you seen them?
I've seen them, Santiago. Wow, the uniforms that come out from teams have been kind of bizarre, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been new but edgy, but hey, sometimes you got to update them every so often.
I don't know if everybody's just kind of looking to make a splash during this downtime, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of them. I kind of like it.
It's been a big news story, obviously, because of sports not going on. NBA drops.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know if it'd been a big story, if things were normal and the NBA playoffs are going on. It probably would have been on the back page, not the front page of sports.
NBA has parted ways with longtime sporting goods Spalding, which produces the NBA's custom-made basketballs. The new game ball will be manufactured by Chicago-based company Wilson, starting with the 22 cent according to person from the matter. No more Spalding, Ryan. It's Wilson time.
For somebody, for a person off the street might not make a big difference, but Wilson and Spalding, I do coach basketball, so I do touch a lot of basketballs in different fields. There's a big difference, Santiago. I don't,
I know. I've heard
the feel, the way, and that's a big difference for players. Players are definitely used to, the way balls come off their hands. And then, they tried a new ball a couple of years ago for feeling, and the players revolted quickly. They had to go back to the old ball. But I think I don't know if it's gonna make a huge difference. But and then Spalding, Wilson, I don't think Wilson's gonna make that much more money. Selling balls, Dick's Sporting Goods, because now they're the official ball of the NBA. If you go to Dick's, you're probably just gonna pick a ball up, whatever the cheapest one off the shelf. But for the players, it's definitely a big deal for them.
It does. Back to the NFL, the Las Vegas Raiders has signed ex-Chicago Bears cornerback Prince Amakamara. There's no details on the contract. Would that be a big help for the Raiders?
Yeah, it's actually, if you go back a couple of months, when free agency first started, they originally had a deal in place, and then both sides walked away from the table. Because you had that first week where players agree the contracts, but they can't sign them. When they went to sign the contract, there was something in the contract that he didn't like, and, both parted ways, and now he doesn't have a team still yet, and I think they're ready, where they worked out whatever differences they had, and he signed his contract.
Which, speaking about stadiums, the Raiders have a gorgeous stadium. Have you seen the renderings?
Beautiful, Santiago.
It looks like a European, like a Bayern Munich stadium.
No, it's definitely, I think it just looks cool because obviously, I've only been to Las Vegas one time, but it's definitely a unique place to fly to because you literally, you got, you're flying in the middle of the desert, and then all of a sudden you hear the wheels of the airplane going down, and you're like, what are you doing? I don't see anything, and all of a sudden there's a lot of this big kind of appear in the desert. So I can't imagine flying into Las Vegas now and seeing this humongous stadium out there. Oh, it's got to be great to see.
First pro.
I'm sure it's beautiful inside.
Which is their first pro club?
Well, they do have this is a sporting team.
They do, which I don't know about hockey teams. And I do have to ask you a random question at the end of the show, and not remembering. Hopefully I remember it then. Ryan Christa, I know you're watching The Last Dance because you got nothing else to do on Sunday nights. This past weekend was the Gary Payton / Michael Jordan, his dad Michael Jordan's dad's episode, and also about Michael Jackson trash talking, and then Scottie Pippen, sitting out on Game 7 against the Knicks in the Eastern semifinals of the NBA playoffs. What were your thoughts this past weekend of The Last Dance?
I think it's the thing, when they asked Scottie Pippen, would he do the same thing today after knowing that they drew that play up for Tony Kukoc instead of him, and he didn't go in the game? He said yes. It's just interesting, sometimes when you do stuff in the moment as a player, or you're actually emotionally, and you go back in time and you realize, oh, that didn't really make sense. But what is this, like 15, 20 years later, and he still said yes, he'd do the same thing. So I thought that was very interesting, take, that from that. It's it's just interesting to dive into, all the things that, we didn't know back then. It doesn't seem a long time ago, but it was a totally different world, without social media and having the cameras everywhere. We didn't know about these insights and the relationships that players actually had with each other.
Which one surprised you the most so far within the series?
I guess I didn't really, I didn't realize the dislike between Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but I've heard that story before. I think it's Steve Kerr.
I've heard it, but I still feel like, a lot of times you hear stories about, and there's kind of like water under the bridge now because they won championships. I don't necessarily, when they were talking to each other, that it was water under the bridge. I still think there's some dislike between each other.
But there was no dislike with Gary Payton.
No.
The glove.
Yeah. It's just, it's just a well-made documentary, Santiago. You're taking a look at, the last year that the Bulls were really put together, while taking a look at Michael Jordan's whole career and all the people and this, the
all in 10 episodes, which they could have done in 20 episodes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like give me more. I think we got a little hint into we're going to be. I think I don't know when it's going to happen. It could be years from now, but I think they're going to do the same thing into the Dallas Cowboys dynasty back in the 90s.
I've heard that. I've heard they're working on that. But I'm more interested in with like the Lakers, the 2000 to 2004 with Shaq and Kobe. But
I definitely think that was in the works, Santiago, before Kobe died. Yeah.
Okay.
I heard they're trying to dig up a lot of footage. Unfortunately,
that's like a part 2 of The Last Dance. It feels like
you're not going to get a lot of that firsthand knowledge,
Yeah.
And I think what's really interesting, I love about this documentary, I think is how truthful, Michael Jordan is, and when he's giving these recounts about people he played with, ownership, opponents. Like again, we weren't privy to a lot of that inside information that we get to now. We know a lot about our professional players, personalized because of social media. We only heard about the headlines back in the 90s. Now with this documentary and finding old footage, we can really dive into what it was like during those times, and how big of a star Michael Jordan really was, and how big of a competitor he really was. Because we heard stories about how practice he would be so hard on his players and his teammates that they really just didn't like him. Did they like playing with him because they won? Sure, but they didn't like him as a teammate because he was kind of a jerk. But he got the best out of each one of them, and in the end, though, he really trusted his teammates. He was willing to make that, that pass when he got double teamed, and in the end, and that just kind of shows, he's always willing to make that big play. And I think that's something that early on, I think LeBron James was always being accused of. He wasn't willing to take that big shot. But you're watching these shows. Yes, Kobe, yes, Jordan hit that shot against the Cavs years ago. He had a couple game winners, but he was also willing to make those extra passes when he had to the wide open players.
Ray Allen.
Them, Yeah, exactly.
Mo Williams.
Mo Williams, yes. but now I feel like maybe LeBron is fairly treated because I'm looking at Jordan. Jordan is definitely a willing passer on those game-winning possessions, and I feel like because of Kobe and between LeBron,
the bridge to
and
LeBron.
yeah, but Kobe was willing to take that shot with 2 or 3 people on him. He wasn't going to be that willing passer all the time.
Or maybe
maybe early on he was
hoop
willing to make
to
those passes to Robert Horry, but after those first couple of years, he was going to take that shot no matter what. Well, Jordan was willing to make that pass. LeBron is always willing to make the right pass. So that's just superstars make the different plays. There's no right or wrong. It's just how how each of them are built. It's just interesting. Going to my last closing comments here. With that ESPN put up that list of the 75 greatest players. And I really was expecting Kobe to be in the top 3 or 4, but
Me too.
At number 9. And I am not a Kobe guy, Santiago. Not one bit, really.
I know you're more of a LeBron guy, and you were shocked to see Kobe that low. I think it's 9th. Gosh, maybe I'm too biased. I don't know.
Santiago, I'm 35 years old, and most of these players that are in the top 10, a lot of them played well where I was watching all the games. Even Jordan, Jordan played most of the games, when I was, up to middle school. So I wasn't watching, 20, 30 games a season. I started watching 10 to 15, tops. So I didn't have the appreciation. I think now, Michael Jordan play now, you're watching, 50, 60 of his games at least every season, just because the TV is a lot more accessible now. But, when you're comparing, Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the game was just totally different. And there's different eras. I think in the 80s, early 80s, you had a lot of offensive basketball. I think that's where you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar put up ridiculous numbers. And then, Pat Riley came and Chuck Daly and the Bad Boys and the Pistons. So from the mid-80s to mid-90s, the game was different. It was half-court basketball. It was low scoring. Because you look at this Bulls scoring numbers, they hardly ever got to 100. The game was always played in the 80s and 90s. Now teams get to 100 by the third quarter. It's just a totally different game now. I think Mike D'Antoni really changed the game in the early 2000s, with the spread out, 7 seconds or less, quick shots, three-pointer. The Suns, gave way to the, Warriors, and now the game is totally different. Everybody kind of wants their own form of the Warriors. And even, defensive-minded coaches got to really change the way they play to keep up. Every era's got their different way of playing basketball. So it's definitely hard to rank players
from different eras.
Played in different eras and different times. 30 points a game in 75. Might be different than 30 points a game in the Michael Jordan era. Might actually equal to 50 points a game because baskets are just so much harder to come by.
Something we'll definitely look at. The final 2 episodes are this weekend, 9 and 10. The Last Dance. We'll probably be looking at the Pacers series and obviously the NBA Finals against Utah Jazz. I would like to see, after they win the championship, the decision-making, the goodbyes, and things like that, but we'll see. Jerry Cross is a villain. Scottie Pippen portrayed it in a negative way for some people, but we'll leave that for another.
I think you heard tidbits. You kind of knew he had. I think Scottie Pippen was willing to be the number 2 guy to Jordan, but he wasn't willing to be the number 3 guy. And I also think he was kind of waiting for Jordan to leave because, I think the first time because he wanted to see if he was the one guy, and I think he put up good numbers those years Jordan played baseball.
But Pippen wasn't clutch.
He realized he to win a championship he needed Jordan.
Yeah, you needed a 2 superstars per team, but that could be debatable for today. Anyways, ready for some predictions?
Let's do it.
The only big game this weekend, there's a couple of them. Borussia Dortmund versus Schalke 04. Who do you got?
What was the teams again, Santiago?
Borussia Dortmund, which is where Pulisic used to play, versus Schalke 04.
I'm going to go Pulisic all the way.
With who?
Dortmund.
Dortmund. Schalke, actually, Jermaine Jones played for Schalke 04 about 10 years ago, I think, or longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a U.S. soccer trivia. There you have it. And random question at the Sportscast Twitter. Poll question: who was the best NBA sixth man in the last 30 years? Robert Horry, Tony Kukoc, James Harden, or James Posey?
I guess, I think Robert Horry was the most clutch. James Harden was obviously the most skilled. But I think it's hard to put the list out without putting gosh, I'm mind blank, the guy.
Which team?
Mo Williams is a really good sixth man for a long time. And also,
Ray
I am
Allen?
blanking on it.
No, Ray Allen wasn't the sixth man for the Heat.
No. He keeps on playing, he plays for the Clippers.
Oh,
right
Crawford?
Yes, Crawford, yes.
Wow.
He was definitely a sixth man.
That was a lucky guess of mine. Yeah. It's funny because for that spot, I was kind of debating it, and I couldn't think of anyone but James Posey. I mean, you consider James Posey a sixth man, right?
Sure. And he was definitely the best defensive player out of that group.
Yeah. Well, Twitter has Robert Horry winning at 66%. Tony Kukoc.
How many times did Justin Riley vote for Robert Horry?
He did. Tony Kukoc came in second, 20%. James Harden third, and Posey last place was 0. You think Kukoc was better than James Harden?
No, absolutely not. I mean, James Harden might be one of the top 25 best players in the NBA.
Well, for six man, obviously, we're looking at the Harden back when he first started, like those first couple years.
I mean, if you look at the first year the Thunder went to the finals against the Heat back in LeBron James' prime. I mean, the fourth quarter, the ball was in nobody else's hands, not in Durant's hand, not in Westbrook's hands. It was in Harden's hand. It just happened that was kind of rotation. Harden was okay with him coming off the bench. Goodness gracious, I just wish that team could stay together, Santiago. What a team that would have been.
It was tough, man. It was tough. But Robert Horry wins this poll. Robert Horry, sixth man for the Houston Rockets, for the Lakers, and the San Antonio Spurs. So a player that has won 7 championships. And not saying he's the best player ever.
He's definitely one of the clutches and made a lot of clutch playoff shots. He definitely knew his role. He could defend, many possessions. He could make open threes. He could hit a little bit of post-up game. But, I mean, skill-wise, James Harden would run circles around Robert Horry. It's just kind of, I mean, most people, they think of James Harden right now. They think of, what they see for the Rockets, but before that, he definitely was your traditional sixth man. You come off the bench firing, that's what, kind of that cold-blooded, you're going to shoot because that's what you're supposed to do as a sixth man, kind of beat a scoring punch off the bench. But, yeah, that's a poll, though, for you. There's no wrong answer. They're all worthy.
Ryan Christa, what is the best way to reach you to talk to you about Mac Jones?
Well, you can ask Justin Riley about Mac Jones.
How about NASCAR?
You can ask me about Kyle Trask. That's what you want to ask me about.
How about Governor DeSantis saying all the sports teams and leagues could play here in Florida?
Yeah, let's do it, Santiago. I'm
Great
ready.
Weather. We got all the stadiums. Well, not all the stadiums we need. I guess they'll be overpopulated. But anyways, what is the best way?
I even saw your Governor DeSantis said that he would open up the Gators football stadium if any teams from California wanted to play NFL games.
That's so funny. That's awesome. Anyways, Ryan, what is your direct line?
Let's go, the Mad Dog Report on Twitter. Hey, I think we're getting closer, Santiago, to sports. I think baseball might be our first sport. MLB. I think we talked about this. If I had to make any prediction, I think NBA, after 2 weeks, just says it's just too many things to overcome. Let's have a draft, and let's get ready for the 2020-21 season. Feel bad for the Bucks and the Lakers, the two best teams in the league.
Clippers.
But, their time will come.
Yeah. I think NBA is a very complicated league. I think that like the players union, even the players, they're just so complicated. I think just wait till December and start, and just things will be calmer. It feels like
Yeah, Yeah,
That's what I
I'm
think.
even open to that. Santiago, I cancel the season, start in,
Yeah, it's just way
if you got to
too.
start in December,
Oof.
that means you can get fans in the arena in December.
Yeah.
13, let's do that. I don't know. I think, as a country, we're kind of, the media is always, whether it's true or not, kind of forcing our hands on this, second wave. So
But we'll be
everybody
way more prepared
know,
by the second wave for sure. We'll definitely have the
that's
testing
what I'm
kits
talking
and
about,
everything. So
Santiago. That's what I'm talking about. I feel like, because everybody talks about the second wave in 1918, but this is in 1918, 2020. Our technology is a lot better. I think we learned from March. We're ready. We know how to cut it off quickly. But I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert. I just want life to go back.
but you're definitely a sports expert and part of the Sportscast, which you can reach us at thesportscast.net. Thesportscast.net. You could see all the stories that we covered today in this show on thesportscast.net, or visit us at the Sportscast 1, where we carry the conversation. Right now, the Mac Jones and the Bryce Young debate's going on. It's starting. It's brewing over there in Tuscaloosa. So we'll see how things go. Of course, there's been rumors that the Alabama AD, the athletic director, has been hinting that the college football will not start on time. So we'll see how things go with college football. That's even more complicated. Probably as complicated as the NBA.
Santiago, you would have to have an hour-long special to talk about the complicity of NCAA sports.
Very. Pac-12? Man, forget them.
I think because here you got two different things. This is, I promise, my last little segment. But with professional sports, you can make money by just hosting games because the TV money and almost all the professional sports is great.
You don't need fans.
You don't need the fans. In college, it is hard to justify playing the games if the fans aren't there because the money from gates and, it's so important. Yes, the big conferences, they do have team money, but no, $20 million, $5 million the SEC gets is nothing compared to the $500 million that the NFL gets from CBS and the NFL. It's a totally different way, and if you don't, I think the simple solution everybody talks about for college football is only playing conference games, but that would decimate everything but the group of Power Five. That would literally kill the group of five, because how does the group of five work? They feed, they play those games at the beginning of the season against, the Power Five, and that fills up their payroll for the season. So you take away those games, you're definitely hurting the economy of college sports in general. Because if Florida isn't playing, Townsend this year, Townsend isn't going to be able to afford to have their soccer team and their women's lacrosse or all those other sports that pay for it because their football team comes down to Gainesville and gets, slaughtered. But that's how they fund their team. So, anyways, that's just kind of, a little bit of the economy of college sports and how there's so much riding on college football coming up this fall.
And there you have it. Follow us on the Sportscast.net for the latest scheduling. Will definitely be part of our news. And we'll have Kailu on tomorrow, talk a little bit more about the NBA and what's happening as well in the NFL. And, of course, we'll have some more The Last Dance talks, because those are as exciting, even though those stories have been 20 years old, but a lot of good revelation. This is better than Lost in the Office. Anyways, Ryan, I got no time left. We got to go. God bless, and I'll see you next week, right?
Yep, sounds good. See you again, Santiago. God bless everybody.